to So That Reminds Me, Reminder Publishing's podcast discussing Western Mass news. My name is Dennis Hackett.
And I'm Ryan Fair.
We'll be your host for today's show.
This episode of So That Reminds Me is sponsored by the Big Broadcast 1940s radio show, Saturday, March 7th, with performances at 2 p.m. and 7:30 p.m. in Chapin Auditorium at Mount Holyoke College. Tickets are available at the Odyssey Bookshop in South Hadley and online at mhc.ludus.com and at the door.
On this week's episode, we are sitting down with Maureen Sullivan and Mark Johnfrido to talk about the recreation of a live 1940s radio variety show featuring the Jaws ensembles, performing well-known tunes and hidden gems from the swing era in the American Popular Songbook. Ryan, we're on the mic again. I feel like it's been a while for me. How are you doing?
It's been good. I've been tired the last 2 weeks, but it's been good. I visited New York this past weekend.
Nice.
So it was nice to see my brother, and we had like a needle in the haystack with like nice weather on Saturday to walk around, and my mom was with us too. We were able to check out some of the nice landmarks in New York, like the Brooklyn Bridge and the Hudson River and all that. So it was just a nice day to walk around. It's been a while since I've been able to do that in New York. So that's kind of what I've been up to. But other than that, just chugging along, waiting for the warm weather because I'm exhausted. I'm tired of it.
The shoveling kicked my butt on Monday.
Oh, yeah. Oh, it was awful. I mean, I think my area didn't get as bad as others, like Rhode Island and Eastern Mass, and they got 2 feet, or some cases like 3 feet. I think just breaking records left and right. So I think where I was like 6 inches or so not terrible, but I'm just overall it's been a sickening winter.
Mm-hmm. For real. I think we were on the higher end. I think we got I don't know how much of snow drifts or whatever, but we probably got about a foot. If I were to guess.
Yeah. But no, thank you. I'm good with that.
Mm-hmm.
But I know our colleague Tyler.
We have Tyler Garnett on hand. Yeah. He was in Long Island on site for the storms. So.
Yeah, he was on the ground, and the boots on the ground. What was happening there, Tyler? What was going? I know you're planning on going on vacation, and then this great New England winter just struck again.
As I know you said it in our Microsoft Teams chat, Hall of Fame numbers for this winter this year so far. Because I was supposed to head down to Florida, catch a little spring training with my dad. Flight got delayed a couple times. We even moved it up a day early to try and avoid the storm, but unfortunately, Mother Nature was not on our side. We got delayed a few times. We got stuck on the flight for about an hour and a half. We were supposed to be the last flight out of there, and pilot said de-icing wasn't working as well as he would have liked, and the weather was only supposed to get worse, and we weren't able to take off, so we had to postpone the trip. But I remember seeing the next day the airport I was supposed to fly out of got a record 29 inches, which is a lot. Mm-hmm. And Long Island as well also got around 2 feet. So that was, a fun time instead of being down in Florida, helping shovel and snow blow the driveways and stuff. So it's just been that type of winter.
Yeah, it really has.
No, it's been awful. I mean, the good news is we're at the tail end of February. We were just talking about how it looks like it's going to warm up. So hopefully we see some melting.
Mm-hmm.
But we'll see what happens.
But again, not too much melting because we don't want everything to flood.
No, we don't want it all at once. I know, Dennis, you were mentioning off here there was like a possibility of it being 70 degrees sometime.
Yeah, I think it was looking at like March 10th or maybe something like around
which
there.
Is like nice, but it's also like that could be a day where it's like, all right, there's like too much flooding happening or too much melting, which causes flooding. But yeah, we'll welcome the weather though. We can't be beggars and choosers here,
No. No, and we haven't had a winter like this in years, so we were kind of due.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, I've been very jealous of everybody fleeing to Florida. It seems like we had Chris was off on a cruise last week.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
my girlfriend's leaving for Florida tonight, so it's just like I'm extremely jealous.
Yeah, well, that's the other thing is like it's like when this time of year, it's like you're not getting any sunshine. Usually you're just sitting inside. Like I watch movies all day, or I'm working. It's like that's why I've been doing this winter. Because there's just nothing else to do. You can't even go outside. It's not nice enough to go outside and like take a walk even. So it's just
No, and to kind of segue that with what, for real.
I'm just pale.
But to segue that with what I've been doing, I this month It's been like a Resident Evil month for me.
That's nice. That's nice. I never played.
So I've been running. I ran through like 3 of them.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's like good, survival horror stuff.
Nice.
On preparation of tomorrow, which is the launch for Resident Evil 9.
Oh, nice.
Which apparently sounds really good. It sounds like it's really both horror and heavy action. So I'm curious to see how that all comes together. And it's got my favorite protagonist from the series. So,
cool.
So
nice.
I'll be spending some of my time off this weekend.
Nice. Well, after we were just talking about this other snowstorm on Monday, I did load up Death Stranding because I was like, you know what, I've had enough. Like I'm just loading this up. It's been I've one of my friends, he let me borrow the disc. I've had it since like the pandemic.
I think every time I've been over your place, I've seen it just sitting on the shelf.
It's been sitting there since I've literally graduated college 6 years ago. So I haven't touched it, and then finally I gotta get to it because it is a long game, and I want to focus on it.
Yeah.
And I've played the beginning of it, but haven't gotten past that. So I just really want to hone in on it. So hopefully now I can. But
I want to say I played about half of it over the summer and kind of fell off. It just got too long, so I was just like, I don't have time for this.
No, 100%. And at that time, I wasn't an advanced gamer, and I'm not one at all still. But I feel like I'm a little better, now. So I feel like I'm a little more ready to play it. But yeah, no, great game though. It's for sure.
Yeah. All right. Well, I guess kind of shifting gears from our stuff, we're gonna kind of talk about what's news in Western Mass as we have started doing recently.
Mm-hmm.
Ryan, I don't know if there's any big stories off the top of your head you wanted to talk about.
Well, I could touch on I actually went to a press conference yesterday in Chicopee. They just announced that they're the first in the state to launch this bus stop arm safety program. So just some background. Around a year ago, Governor Maura Healey signed into law a bill that basically allows video monitoring on school buses. The goal basically is to catch people that are driving past school buses that are stopped, when kids are getting off or kids are getting on. And so now it's up to kind of municipalities to kind of implement this. Chicopee says they are the first one to do so. Yesterday, they signed a contract with this organization called Bus Patrol, which is an organization that works with municipalities, law enforcement, school districts on putting these cameras up on the school buses to stop these people that are passing buses. So that's been kind of the big thing happening in Chicopee. They're not the first one that's kind of been a part of this program, though. I know Salem and Peabody ran a pilot program in 2024, and there were some pretty alarming statistics. I think it was just the first 6 weeks of the school year, there was around 1,800 vehicles that failed to stop for school buses between the two cities, and that's only 2 municipalities, so you can imagine what it's like across the entire state. It's interesting. This is kind of coming off the Chicopee kind of introducing their real-time information center last week, which is also up on Reminder Publishing that Tyler reported on last week. So this actually is not associated with that, and they made that clear yesterday. But it's interesting to see Chicopee kind of taking the lead on surveillance and all aspects of it, whether it's just for crime or just for stopping people, from passing school buses that are, idling. So so it's interesting. It's going to be implemented April 1st, and there's a warning period that they're going to do starting March 3rd, so people can kind of get acquainted with it. And they said their whole fleet should have cameras by the summer, and I think right now, and there's 74 buses in their fleet, so we'll see what happens with it. It's $250 for first offense for if you're caught passing a school bus that's stopped. So we'll see if this curbs people from doing that.
Yeah. No, and I definitely wanted to touch on that when I was reading that last week about the information center. It was kind of front of mind because I had just talked with Debbie and Sarah about the Super Bowl commercial where they were saying that you could sign up so that your Ring camera could see everything, and it could go to your local police department for lost pets or whatever.
Yeah.
And it kind of the same thought kind of came in my head. This feels very Big Brother-y.
It is.
I understand the importance of being able to do this and catching people and stuff, but it feels there's just that little bit of privacy concern to me where it's just like, I know they've addressed those concerns and stuff, but
it was interesting. I attended the press conference with Tyler last week for the Real Time Center, and it looked like a movie, like just the whole like setup, and like I'm looking at the picture now. I pull the story up, and it's just like, there's like a bunch of just cameras of just, you know, intersections and like just streets. There's like a map of Chicopee that, you know, and they can like access police officers' kind of dash cameras. Yeah. So it's just, it is like a little Big Brother.
Well, and the thing too is they did offer for residents to sign up to be able to show their
there's there's a website residents can go on if they want to buy a camera, or businesses. It's like $350 for a camera. They can install it, and I think they still have to give permission to like the city to access it. But I mean, it is pretty wild, you know. So even the public can kind of participate in this kind of surveillance that Chicopee's under. But
I will say though, the school bus one is definitely a good one, just because people fly by buses.
I've seen it multiple times. I remember being in school and it would happen, and our bus driver would beep at them. Yeah. So it would happen multiple times for sure. But it's just something interesting to, you know, just in Chicopee. Like I people talk about Springfield all the time on this part of the state, but it's interesting to see Chicopee kind of take the lead on stuff like this, and I'd be interested to see what other communities in the area follow suit, because I'm sure there's going to be multiple follows, especially with the advent of AI. And that's the other thing I should mention is both the Real Time Information Center and these bus cameras are powered by AI. So, you know, and I think I forgot who it was in Chicopee, but they said, you know, it's becoming, it's so much a part of our society. It's like, might as well use it. So I forgot who said that in Chicopee last week, but that was kind of the big talking point too. So.
Yeah. Well, one of the things I wanted to bring up, because we spoke with her on the podcast a couple weeks ago, is the Tracye Whitfield situation, and how that conflict of interest situation is kind of, you know, exploded.
Yeah.
I'm sure
that was like right after we recorded that.
Yeah. So just for kind of listeners' context, within 24 hours of Ryan and Tyler speaking with her on the podcast, information came out that the city's law department was sending a list of other conflict of interest violations to the State Ethics Commission to review, basically, where there was the situation where she was operating like as a business owner and partner in her son's business with several properties that had come up, and then so that was something that had broke. And then since that happened, Counselor Victor Davila called for her to step down. She said no. He also said that he was going to be putting forward a vote of no confidence in her at the next city council meeting. That hasn't happened yet, because they were supposed to meet, and it was on the agenda for this past Monday. Obviously, feet of snow, didn't happen. So we're keeping an eye on that. But the council is next scheduled to meet on March 2nd. But we hadn't seen the agenda yet. But
and it seems like Whitfield has kind of stood her ground on, like even after, you know, on the podcast, she talked about how she made a mistake and she contacted the law department after, and then she kind of she maintained that same stance. It seemed like when I read Sarah's story during the press conference she held last week. So it seems like she's kind of standing her ground on that. I'd be interested to see what happens. But
and she declined, obviously, to step down from the city council, but she did step down from the business position.
Yes, she did. To
avoid any conflicts there. But at this point, it's really just up to what the State Ethics Commission finds, I think. But it'll be interesting to see, because obviously it's not insignificant when there's been multiple violations of the conflict of interest laws. So
and and she also, I think, mentioned how she didn't know about that law or whatever, stepping down. I mean, it's just worth knowing she's been on the council since 2018. So it's it's been some time. But she just became president in January. So we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens with that.
Still definitely evolving. Interested to see how the not only residents and her colleagues kind of respond to how the findings are made. But a crazy situation I think we have to talk about in East Longmeadow is with A's Smoke Shop and their liquor license.
Oh, tell me about this.
I don't know if you've heard this one. So basically, a few weeks ago now, there was a liquor license hearing, a disciplinary hearing for the owner at A's Smoke Shop in East Longmeadow. Basically, what happened is they were hit with repeated violations of selling alcohol to minors.
Oh, jeez.
And it got to the point where there's 29 liquor license holders in East Longmeadow. Out of the 28 other businesses, only one had received a warning for by not checking an ID. That was it. A's had 12.
Oh, jeez.
And this dates back to a previous owner where there were issues with that owner not paying the fines and everything. So this was a developing situation, and then a couple of the SROs at East Longmeadow High School kind of came to the conclusion after talking to some of the students that A's was like a known place for high schoolers to go get their alcohol for parties and stuff like that.
Wow.
And then the police chief had said that a parent had come to him and had seized alcohol from his daughter that she had bought at A's. And this was kind of like a known place, not only in East Longmeadow, but for Longmeadow as well, where students were basically just getting alcohol. And there was no real... it didn't seem like anyways, obviously 12 violations and then a known place where people could buy alcohol. I mean, it is quite alarming.
What was like the owner's response? Like obviously this owner, like you can't deny it at this point. Like you have 12.
This is where it really loses me because one Counselor Anna Jones said this. It seemed like they just did not care.
Yeah, that clearly. Yeah.
The big kind of argument they tried to make is that they didn't have ID scanner for scanning out-of-state IDs.
Interesting.
And then they were talking about how the technology was an issue and they weren't going to be able to do it, so they were asking for a police officer to check everybody's alcohol and their IDs as they were leaving, basically, which was crazy to me. And then a couple of the counselors looked online and found that they could get a ID scanner for like $600 in 2 days from Amazon.
Jeez.
So it wasn't really... So they kind of went from there, and one of the counselors, Jim Layden, was talking about how it was kind of disrespectful and just avoiding the question, just to be talking about the ID scanner, and how there was a bunch of young looking 30-year-olds, I think the line was that he said, with the Connecticut IDs going in. And basically it came down to the council found that it was a kind of like a like a detriment, like a public health safety hazard, pretty much, with students having this kind of access to alcohol. Yeah. So they voted unanimously to kind of shut it down, or take their liquor license. At least they can't. I don't believe they're able to shut down a business. But.
Yeah, I mean that's insane. I mean, I just pulled up the story, and even like the aspect of selling pills, like prescription medication,
meds out of the
sold under the brand name Viagra. Like, I mean, this is something like Springfield was talking about, like this packaging, like, this kind of illicit weed, selling illicit weed at gas stations, like stuff like that.
Well, so I think that's a little different because that's like a product that they, according to the police reports and everything, they found packages of pills in the cash register. Right. That feels, I don't know. That feels like something completely different when it's prescription meds just being sold. No, 100%.
Like but just the idea of like this is even like they don't even have like a permit to sell this. I would assume, right? If they're finding it in the cash register.
You're not. You're not allowed to sell prescription drugs like that.
Yeah. So that was like that was the other concerning thing I saw in this too. But wow, I mean, clearly, the owner, if it's this many violations, like that doesn't care, like, that's. There's not much you can kind of defend yourself.
No. And then there was a couple more. So I think there was another meeting about this the other night. I hadn't read Peter's story yet. He was working on that this morning. So keep it tuned to thereminder.com for another update on this situation.
I mean, 70 pages of evidence, too.
Yeah.
Over years. This goes back years.
And the owner was trying to claim that there was issues with the previous owner, and then you look, and then I think it was Jim Layden again. He had said that 70 pages of, or like showing up on a FBI investigation is not an accident.
No.
But
no. Wow. Yeah, that's insane.
Yeah. So that was what was happening in East Longmeadow a couple weeks ago and still ongoing.
Wow.
I believe they were, because they had the meeting on Tuesday, I believe, and then they had another meeting with the liquor license on the agenda for Friday from the licensing commission that they have. But yeah.
Wow.
Crazy times.
Crazy times. For once, it's not Holyoke.
No, Holyoke. It was like what, every day.
We had like 2 straight podcast episodes where we were talking just Holyoke news, I think. So yeah. Now it's other communities.
Yeah, it seems like there's something going on in all my communities now. Between that, Tracye Whitfield stuff, and Ryan, you live in Agawam. I'm not sure if you saw the situation with George Bitsis.
Yeah, George Bitsis. Yeah,
getting into it with some constituents after he made some comments about.
You don't see that a lot in Agawam. Agawam's usually a pretty sleepy town, and there's like certain projects that people are interested in, but never like, there's never like political. I don't know,
to that magnitude.
To that definitely not in Agawam. Like maybe in like Hampshire County, but yeah, usually not in Agawam. So that was surprising to see. But
yeah, so basically, just the gist was, he had made some comments about how, quote, radical liberal cities like Cambridge and Boston were ones that had benefits for domestic partners, which is basically like, just kind of in layman's terms, that's like, say you're partnered, you're not married, but getting them benefits just by working, for the town. One of the kind of issues with the language was that it was like, it said specifically 2 or more partners, and that drew a lot of question marks from the people on the council. But George Bitsis was the one that had said the radical liberal comments, and then at the following meeting, a lot of residents were not happy about that and spoke during public comment. And then Peter spoke with Bitsis after the fact, where he doubled down, where he wanted Agawam to stay kind of as it is, but said that people were kind of misconstruing his words.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that was another,
That's interesting. Yeah. I mean, the Agawam's a very conservative city. So I'm not shocked that a counselor said something like that. But yeah. I know Bitsis has been on the council for years. It seems like, I mean, if he's been on for so long, it seems like he's pretty well liked. So it was interesting to see like all this, I guess, derision he received online and at the council meeting. So yeah, we'll see. We'll see how that impacts the Agawam City Council in the future.
Yeah. But. And then one last thing I briefly wanted to touch on. Sarah had just submitted a story on this. I haven't had a chance to read it, but a couple weeks ago we had received a notice or a letter from a reader from Bay State saying that they were no longer providing gender-affirming care for minors. So Sarah's been kind of diligently working on this story, and kind of what Bay State is doing is they're going to work with Trans Health up in Northampton to kind of shift any of the pediatric patients up there to help them find coverage for that. But I just thought it was interesting, kind of given the wider context of that. Right now, obviously, that's a big political issue. Yeah. And I believe there was some smoke about a federal law that was kind of, or like hospitals would be losing funding for offering these kinds of things.
Yeah.
From the federal level, but
yeah, there's some executive order about it, I believe. But Bay State in general, I feel like has some issues recently with cuts and
the CEO said not too long ago that he's trying to turn around a battleship in a bathtub. It's kind of the quote I keep bringing up.
I remember that. Yeah,
obviously they had they've had so many layoffs. They've had the voluntary layoffs that they were offering back in the December and January, I want to say. So it just paints a really kind of difficult picture with, obviously, they can't afford to probably lose federal funding, and then just where they are budget-wise. I think I had read a press release that while I think they had been certified for an A rating for their bond rating, I believe, but the outlook was still negative. There's obviously a lot of political kind of also financial constraints with that situation. So
100%. But a lot going on.
Yeah,
a lot going on around here.
Busy weeks, despite being
post
buried
holiday
in snow.
Yeah, post holiday. People are getting back in the swing of things the last couple of months. So a lot going on.
All right. Well, I think we've blabbed on enough about what's going on, but so I think we're going to jump into our interview now.
We get it. You're busy, but you want to be connected to your local community. If you're not reading The Reminder, Western Mass's free weekly newspaper, you're missing out on the heartbeat of your town. Stay in the loop with all the latest buzz, from local stories to community updates and exciting events. It's all in The Reminder. Just log on to thereminder.com and dive into the hometown news you love. To subscribe to receive The Reminder at your home, call 413-788-1316. Don't miss a beat. Your town, your stories, your community for over 60 years. The Reminder. We are hometown news.
This spring, Prime is packed with fresh ideas for living well. From simplifying your space to navigating health decisions, building meaningful connections, and embracing life's transitions, Prime brings you the stories and guidance to inspire your next chapter. You'll also find practical life tips, travel inspiration, local events, and our must-know highlights for the season. It's all in the spring issue of Prime, which hits stands in April. And if you're an advertiser looking to reach the over 45 market, call sales manager Scott Green at 413-525-6695. Prime, your best life, now.
All right, we are here with Mark Gianfrido and Maureen Sullivan from the Big Broadcast. So I guess kind of just to get started, do you mind telling us a bit about yourselves and your involvement with the Big Broadcast over the years?
Sure. Well, I'm the director of the Jazz Ensemble program at Mount Holyoke College, and back in 2006, I thought it might be kind of fun to do something a little bit different. The students were coming to me and they were saying, theater department only does a musical every 4 years, and we're wondering, had you ever thought about, maybe something lightly theatrical that we might be able to do? And I started thinking about this. The show that I did with a cabaret group back in the 90s called Puttin' on the Ritz, and it was basically a radio variety show that took place at a radio station, and the stars would come in and sing songs and stuff like that. And we would do, we would pick a year, and it would be like the Big Broadcast of 1939 or something like that. And so I had started the jazz program in 1999, and then, like I said, by 2006, I kind of felt like maybe we were ready to take on something like this. And that's what we did. We did it on a very, very low-key basis, one show, just to see whether or not people would enjoy it, and they loved it. So, awesome. And Maureen's been doing our publicity for how many years now?
I think about 5 years, and I've been involved with the Big Broadcast for 6, because our good friend and the late Mark Auerbach, who was a well-known publicist, was doing it, and he asked me one year, can you run front of the house? I think that's how it got started.
I think you're right, yeah.
And I was there, and that was my first experience with the Big Broadcast, was running front of the house, and then the next year I started doing the publicity.
Awesome.
Well, thank you both for being here. And I wanted to ask, can you kind of give an overview of what the broadcast is for people who may not know? I know it's been around for a little over 2 decades now, but, for those who may not be acquainted with it, I was wondering if you want to let people know what it's all about.
Sure. It's kind of our idea of what it would be like to be in the audience of a 1940s radio variety show. This one particularly happening at a remote location. We don't know where. But Chapin Auditorium at Mount Holyoke College looks very, very period. It works perfectly. And then I found out a number of years ago that the Glenn Miller Band had actually performed on that same stage back in February of 1939. So that was kind of cool. And so we kind of schedule the music with that in mind. There's usually some Glenn Miller involved. And then the other important performance group is the Andrews Sisters, which was very iconic during the 1940s. And so we often do arrangements of the Andrews Sisters music, some of the hits, some of the not so known things, but really, really nice numbers. And then also the ones that they did with Bing Crosby, the songs that they did with Bing Crosby. So it's a combination of music from the period. The students write the show. We have 3 student producers. They get together with me for a week in January, and they write all of the intros for our announcer, who's Brian Lapis from Channel 22. He plays Fred Kelly, and they write all of his intros and outros. They select period commercials, which I transcribe. We do them musically or they're spoken. There's a newscast that they call from the news of the day. And then they also write an authentic radio serial, an episode of a radio serial that we do in the second act, complete with Foley artist. So,
awesome. And then I guess one of the things that kind of we were talking about earlier is like the specific time period. Like, what's so kind of special about like this era, like the 1940s-ish, that you guys like to kind of do a show on it every single year like this?
Well, I think the first thing was that we were noticing that there was really nothing like it around, and especially for a college jazz program to put something like this on is really kind of unusual, right from the bottom up of like writing the whole thing and costuming it, and they do the hair and the makeup and all of that stuff. So we liked the 40s because big hairstyles and there was a lot of stuff going on. Obviously, it's very, very different from contemporary times. So it's very interesting because some of the students, they're kind of like, ooh, wow, there's a lot of stereotyping. There's a lot of provincial stuff. Some of it is rather offensive, but they all understand that it's kind of a historical piece, like a typical theater piece. We all have our different names. I play Matt Morgan. So, and then at the top of the program, we actually say that, we put a little provision at the top of it that says, we're not glorifying this. We're not promoting these. We're just showing the 1940s warts and all, and some of it might be offensive to some people. Like when we do a cigarette commercial. I mean, nobody does cigarette commercials on television or radio anymore, and it's so to hear that, and then to hear some of the crazy claims that happen. Like 9 out of 10 doctors actually promote this cigarette in cases of throat irritation. Stuff like that. So it's and the students all they're in on the joke, and so is the audience, because we have an on the air sign and we have an applause sign, and so the audience dutifully applauds when we flash it, and everybody's in on the gag, but and then it's a really wonderful way not only for the students to learn something about the history of that time period, but also the great music. I mean, it's the iconic stuff like Sing, Sing, Sing and In the Mood, and the Andrews Sisters pieces like Boogie Woogie Bugle Boy. It just was a great time for music and variety shows in general.
Yeah. With this being kind of the 21st year, I was kind of wondering, like, what what's your kind of an approach to keeping things fresh, over the years, or like has there been challenges with kind of coming up with new material each year because it's the focus on one era, or What's kind of been your approach to that?
Well, after 21 years, we have a lot of. I have a lot of stuff in the library of things that I buy music, the authentic arrangements from a few companies, one's in England and others in Australia, and their arrangers, they basically write the stuff out so it sounds exactly like, it was heard in those days. And quite often they'll do like, oh, this was an Artie Shaw piece that was done during a radio broadcast, that the music never existed again. They only played it once. Mm-hmm. They never recorded it or something like that, and that kind of stuff is really, really cool. The other thing is that it's really difficult to find Andrews Sisters arrangements, and so I've written pretty much all of them. I've done, in fact, this particular year, we're bringing back By Mere Bis to Shane, which is like one of their big hits. I think it was the first big hit, but it was done with the Glenn Miller Band on the Chesterfield radio program when for about 2 months. Glenn Miller was hosting it, and the Andrews Sisters were like the featured vocal trio that came on. So I arranged that piece, I listened to it, and wrote it all out. And so we have a whole bunch of this stuff, and then we're able to just kind of pull on all of this stuff. Every once in a while I'll hear a commercial or something. Like I heard one on the radio a couple of months ago. It was Kellogg's Cornflakes, and it's like, ooh, that's corny, as I believe is the name of the jingle. and so Brian Lapis and I are performing it as it was performed on the radio. We wrote it all out, and it's cheesy jokes, and it's really, really funny, and the audience, our audience is their hair is getting whiter and whiter as we as we get into this run, but they all know the songs, they remember the commercials and everything. And the students at the very beginning, we didn't have quite a lot of Mount Holyoke people coming to see the show. Now it's become a tradition, and now it's like the students are kind of like, oh yeah, it's so cool, I want to go see that. So it's really it's inviting now not only the older people to come see the show, but the younger people too.
So you'd say it kind of hits a broader demographic over the years.
Yeah, definitely. Yep.
Mm-hmm. And then one thing I kind of wanted to follow up on a little bit, you mentioned arranging the music. Like, how difficult is that to do?
Well, I can't say that it's easy. It's really not easy. But the thing is that I've kind of gotten an ear for it over the last 21 years that we've done the show. And I was just joking with my students. I was saying sometimes it's really interesting because, they would have like one microphone in the middle of the room and everybody would be around it, And so sometimes, and of course it's monaural recordings, I was working on this one particular tune that we're doing. It's a new one. It's called But It Didn't Mean a Thing. And I'm pretty sure that it Probably was on the playlist when Glenn Miller came to Mount Holyoke. Mm-hmm. Marion Hutton sang it, and they recorded it about a month later in New York City on Bluebird Records. And so I'm like, I really would like to do a song that nobody's ever done before. And so I sat down and I just listened to the whole thing and just started writing it all out. And I told them, I said, I was struggling because sometimes, you hear things, you don't hear things. And every once in a while I'm like, well, I think this is probably what he was doing there, so I'm going to fill this in that way. And so sometimes you have to kind of, do your best. Mm-hmm. But I think I get it pretty close, so.
Well, kind of going off of that, like broadly, like how much work kind of goes into this each year? Like, what's kind of the planning? You mentioned how like the student involvement and how they help write the show. You're talking about creating arrangements. Like, what's kind of the planning, and like when do you kind of begin the planning too for this?
I think I start thinking about it usually in December, grudgingly, because I'm still kind of finishing up the Christmas stuff and everything that we do, the holiday stuff. And I usually connect with Maureen around that time, right?
Yeah,
and then
right after Christmas.
We start talking about, all sorts of things, sponsors, possibly,
right? Yeah, and we've got a great roster of sponsors. A lot of them have been with the show for years. And I'm always impressed because, as a marketing and PR person, I'm always wanting to work as far out as possible. And Mark, I'm amazed at how, quickly he puts this all together with the students. Because if you think about it, the semester starts in January, and the show is in the beginning of March, so it's not a lot of time.
Yeah, we barely have. I mean, this year we're lucky because we had, like a good 6 weeks to put the show on. But there's been semesters where we've only had 5 weeks, depending on when the semester starts. And then, of course, the challenge this year has been snow. And so the last we had a rehearsal scheduled for this past Sunday, and I had to scrap it because it was the blizzard, and so we just couldn't get together. And so everything gets moved, but we have built into the schedule, we have 3 dress rehearsals that take place the week of the show. And at that point, it's just kind of like running it like a theater piece, just running it, and then notes afterwards, and changes and things like that. So yeah, the planning. I usually start thinking about it in December, and then in January. Usually in December also, the students come to me and they say, well, I'd like to take part, or I'm going to come back. Because they have to come back in order to do that. They have to come back a week early before the actual semester starts. So they have to make sure that they can get back into their dorm rooms and all of that stuff. And then it's pretty intense for about 4 to 5 days. We're just basically writing the show, and we kind of have a rhythm now. We start working on the intros to the tunes first. I play them all of the music so they get an idea of what the show's going to be, the bare bones of the show, the music that is. And then they start writing the intros and the outros. And then we start listening to commercials, and they're like, oh, I like that one. Oh, I don't like that one. Let's not do that one. And then we have a lot of commercials already all done. So they pick some from the library that I have already done. And then sometimes, there'll be like a new one, like the cornflakes commercial or something. I'll say, let's throw this one in. And then they start writing the newscast, and they basically look online, look for lots of, and we try to keep it, because we can't say that we're in February 1942 or anything, and we basically try to avoid the war. Yeah. We don't speak of the war, not that we don't want to, but it just would tie us too much to the beginning of the 40s. So we try to keep it very, very kind of misty as far as where we are. But they're able to get all sorts of funny news articles, like they found one of the U.S. military, the Navy was using, they had to launch a boat, so they bought a whole bunch of bananas and they put them at the bottom of the pier, and they slid the ship out of dry dock into the water using all of these bananas, and that the students just thought that was hilarious, So they're like, yeah, you got to put that one in there. That one is great for the newscast. So things like that, funny interest stories like that. And then they write the whatever the play is for the year, and we have 3 different plays that we do. We have a Western serial, we have a soap opera, and we have a kind of like a film noir, kind of a detective kind of a thing. So this year was the Western serial. So we're all listening to Westerns and the radio Westerns and everything, and looking for funny words to use, like "ya polecat" or or stuff like that. So then when we write that, and there's certain characters in there that we always bring back, because this particular one, it's called "A Blaze of Justice." And it's basically Nancy Drew in the Wild Wild West. It's Frankie Blaze, who's kind of like a tomboyish, the protagonist, and her little sister Susie. And Frankie rides this stallion Lightning, and Susie rides a little pony Clumsy. And then there's Old One Eye. I play Old One Eye, and I'm the guy who's in charge of the general store, and I got this gruff voice like this. So I get to have some fun with the students. And they write all of the lines, and every once in a while I'll throw a little joke in there, like, oh, you got to try this. And that takes like about 2 days or so to do. We work in like 2 hours. 2 hours in the morning, 2 hours in the afternoon, 2 hours in the evening, taking breaks, sanity breaks. And so, the show is pretty much done in like 4 to 5 days. Usually I take them to the Radio Museum down in Windsor, Connecticut, to kind of show them that. It's a really nice, I highly recommend it for anybody who wants to check that place out. It's really, really interesting. It goes from the beginning of, teletype, all that stuff, and all the way to the present day. So I take them there to they can see the whole thing. And they actually have a studio in there where they have all sorts of sound effects and Foley artist toys and everything, where you can see how it was. They used to do those radio serials. And then, semester starts, and then we just start rehearsing the music separately, groups, because there's vocal jazz, choir, there's the big band, and then there's a small chamber jazz combo. So we all rehearse separately for about 3 weeks. The first week, I have to audition all of the solos and everything. So I listen to everybody who wants to try out for solos and make some decisions. And then we basically have the show all set in place. We start, like I said, just continuing to rehearse the music. And then about 2 weeks before the show, we start doing let's rehearse Act 1 all together. And then let's rehearse Act 2. And then let's start running the show. And then before you know it, it's time to do the show.
Mm-hmm. No, and one thing I wanted to ask, too, with the students specifically, is there any difficulty? Obviously, it's a transition between semesters. Is it, new students that are coming in, or students you had previously that are participating? How does that work?
Yeah, it could be anything. I mean, we have a good core that returned from the fall semester, and we had a couple that went abroad, and they were really disappointed because they were juniors. Mm-hmm. Juniors usually take their year abroad, or at least one semester abroad, and they were, two of them were very sad that they weren't going to be able to be in the show, but they were looking forward to their senior year to be in the show. Meanwhile, we had a couple auditionees, and they came in, and they never had been in the show. In fact, one is a senior. This is her last semester, and she's like, I always wanted to be in the big broadcast, but I just couldn't make it work with my schedule. And she's got a great voice, and so I'm like, oh yeah, you've got to join us. You've really got to do that. Every once in a while, we'll have somebody who's just like a one-off, one semester. They're in for the big broadcast and the spring concert, it's so we make it work no matter who we have coming back, or newly people, or so.
Yeah. One thing that I thought was interesting you brought up a little earlier was this idea that, at first, the students weren't really bought into the show, in the beginning, but as it kind of developed over time, it has this kind of broader appeal. I was wondering, what do you think about, was it your approach to it? What do you think, brought kind of this broader appeal to this type of show over the years? I mean, it seems like the students love being involved, so maybe that's part of it. What do you think, in your opinion?
Yeah, it's hard to say. I think certainly, the more we've done the show, as the years have gone by, and the college buying into it, I mean, they've made us a signature event at the college now. So they feel that this is something that they want to keep doing, they want to keep having every year. The students themselves, I mean, I think some of them enjoy we're going to, dress up in, costume, and we're going to do our hair up big and everything. And the others are, not necessarily into that, or might find it a little bit challenging, So I think little by little, the fact that it's been just getting more and more successful over the years, and those legacy people kind of saying, this is okay, this is really actually quite fun, this is a chance for you to do something that you wouldn't necessarily get a chance to do, because most people have told me, and I mean, I've done theater before too. I mean, theater shows are very, very draining and exhausting of your time. I mean, they're worth it, obviously. But I mean, some of these theater shows, you'll be working on a rehearsal for 4 hours during the course of an evening, and it'll take up a lot of time. And for most of the students that are at Mount Holyoke, I mean, it's a liberal arts college, and so they're not necessarily theater people. They might be economics majors, they might be computer science, they might be lots of they're coming from all sorts of places around campus, and so this is kind of a release for them. This is a way for them to have fun, a way for them to kind of get away from their regular studies, and so I think it's that kind of it's a low key commitment. It's not a heck of a lot of time more than they're putting in, although they all know that as we get to show week, then that we have to throw in a few more extra rehearsals, and they're willing to do that because they know that it's going to make it a much better show the more that we run it and the more that we work on it. So yeah, I mean, I think as time has gone on, the students have looked at it, and then their friends have said, "Oh, that's pretty cool. You're in that show. I've heard all about it." And like I said, we seem to be getting more and more students coming to see the show and thinking that it's a cool thing to do, to see.
I know you mentioned the cornflakes commercial. Any other new additions for this year?
That's a good question. Yeah, I think it looks like we're doing a Mr. Clean commercial. We've never done that one. That's a pretty famous one. I won't sing the jingle so you don't get fined or anything like that. But it's a duet, and it's got a nice little like that, and it's really kind of cute. That the product can do everything from tennis shoes to diamond rings. It can clean everything, and it's pretty cute. I'm trying to think of other things here. I think pretty much everything we've done. In fact, I've even written down. I usually write down the year so that the producers can know, like, when was the last time we did, like, for instance, the vocal jazz feature we're doing You Made Me Love You, and the last time we actually did that particular feature was back in 2010. So, So it's been over 15, 16 years since we've done that particular arrangement. And then there's some other things like I think the By Mir Bist Shane we did in 2019, and we're doing a Latin tune called No Moon at All. We did that one in 2022. So I like to kind of like bring back some stuff, and like like you said, throw in some new things here and there.
That's smart too, because it's different generations. You bring something back that someone's not accustomed to. The newer generation. So
yeah. Well, Fred and I also are doing I think this is the third time we're doing it. We're doing this song called Alabama Bound. It's actually it's from a Dean Martin Dixieland album, which we just have so much fun doing it, and it's actually one of my mom's personal favorite things that we've done. So she's like, "Are you ever going to bring back Alabama Bound?" And I said, "Yeah." I said, "I think this is the year. Let's bring it back again," because we hadn't done it since I think 2016 or something like that. So yeah, there's some personal favorites. Yeah.
The other thing, too, is that some of these songs from the Great American Songbook have been done by a lot of artists over the years. So I think that younger people would be surprised, right, to hear some of them and realize, oh, I know that. I know that song.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a great point. Another question we want to know is, where can people kind of purchase tickets? Can they go online? Can they go somewhere else?
Yeah, you can go to mhc.ludus.com, and that takes you to the Mount Holyoke Performing Arts website. And then I think you click on a button there that says "Click here for tickets," and I think our thing will be the first thing that pops up when you so you can buy tickets to the one or whatever show you want. You can come to both shows if you'd like, but we have a 2:00 show and a 7:30 p.m. show on Saturday, March 7th. And then we're also selling tickets for those who are challenged by using the computer. You can also go to the Odyssey Bookshop in South Hadley, which is right across from the Village Commons, and I should say it's part of the Village Commons. And you can purchase paper tickets there.
Awesome. And I guess, what are you both most looking forward to from this year's show?
A sellout?
That sounds good to me.
Wow, that's a great answer right there.
It's an expensive show to put on. It really is. So so it's really great to have as many people in the seats as possible. We're a nonprofit institution, so we're not there to make a profit, but it just would be great to to be able to support some of those extra things. This is, like I said, this is the one show that we actually sell tickets to. Everything else that we do is free admission. So it's because it's such a big show, and there's just a lot entailing.
Yeah, and I have to say that over the years, being in the front of the house, that people, when they come in, they're just in such great moods. People are happy to be there, and it's always a great audience.
Yeah. Is the attendance usually steady? Or is it usually pretty good every year?
The 2:00 show is usually really, really very, very packed. It obviously that would be the show where our elderly audience would be attending, and we see a lot of buses and things like that coming up to the front door and everything, dropping people off and stuff like that. The evening show at 7:30 is a little bit more laid back in a number of different reasons. The students have done the show once, and so they're all kind of like, all right, we've done this, now we're going to really, they kind of settle in.
Yeah.
And so I love the 7:30 show because I think it's usually pretty copacetic. Everybody's just very, like I said,
the nerves are gone a little
yeah,
bit.
exactly. Yeah. But lately we've been getting more people coming to that now, which is great. We used to do the show on a Sunday, and it was a little bit difficult, that evening show, because a lot of people would need to, have to go to work the next day and everything. And now that we have, I think for at least 10, 12 years now, we've been on a Saturday. That has allowed us to explore, trying to get more people to come to the evening show.
Yeah, and what's nice too is that, if you come to the afternoon show, then you can pop over to one of the restaurants nearby and have dinner, or if you go to the 7:30 show, you can go to dinner first. And so it's nice, and everything is right there. So everything is so close.
Yeah, 100%.
Great. Any more questions, Ryan? Or
I'm good. Unless you got something.
all right, I think that's all we've got for you guys. Anything else you wanted to add before we sign off?
Come to the show.
Yeah, we'd love to see you there.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you both for joining us. It was a pleasure. Come back anytime.
Thank you so much.
I'm sure we'll be doing this again next year, right?
Yeah,
Absolutely.
hope so.
All right, so we're back after a little interview there. Ryan, what'd you think? I thought it was another solid interview. Love. Obviously, we had them Mark and Brian Lapis on last year. Lauren and I did, and we talked about it. Yeah. So it's always good seeing them. But
yeah, I mean, I liked it. I honestly didn't know much about this. I know it's been around forever, and the Reminders interview, as you were just mentioning, we've interviewed the organizers before, but I liked it. I mean, like I think I was always interested in how I was definitely interested in how they've kind of gained this kind of broader audience, because it is such a niche era, and when I went to college, there wasn't a lot of people I knew that were into 1940s music. So
yeah,
I was very interested in how they've kind of bridged that generational gap, and it seems like they've done enough over the last 20 years to do so, and students are very interested in kind of participating in it. So I like the interview. Yeah,
the funny thing for me with music from this era always is I instantly think of Fallout, because so for listeners, Fallout kind of takes place in a weird universe where after World War II, they really invested in nuclear technology and stuff, but culturally they didn't really move on from the 40s and 50s. So a lot of the music and stuff you hear, it's it is Bing Crosby, it is Dean Martin, and obviously you'll hear these at the big broadcasts and stuff. But that's always I don't know, it always comes back to me and how I'm kind of familiar with that kind of music. But
no, that was definitely cool. I like how they mentioned this is we're not promoting this because there are a lot of issues with the 1940s for sure. That era, I mean, it's not always America's greatest moment in history. So, but it's they're not promoting it. It's more of a historical account in a way. The entertainment of the time, the commercials of the time. So,
and the way they talked about the smoking commercials specifically, I always in my head I get the kind of image of the news broadcaster smoking a cigar live on air. I don't know. No, 100%. So I thought it was cool. Especially as someone who just didn't know about this a lot. Maybe something I'll check out in the near future now after going through this. Yeah, and hopefully, like they said, we get some warm weather, or maybe not warm and too warm for them. But
that's what they were saying, because then people will want to go because they'll be outside. But but it seems like they've generated an audience over the last 2 decades. So it seems like they're going to have people interested in this no matter what.
And it's cool that they're we kind of talked about a few times in the interview, that they're bridging that age gap where it's you have the older folks that have been interested in this stuff for a very long time, but then you got kind of the students, they're involved, participating, learning about all this stuff. Then they're getting their friends to go. So I think it's a really cool all ages type of experience.
Yeah, definitely, 100%. Yeah. So I think overall a great interview.
Yeah, I'm definitely excited. we'll see if I'm able to go this year. I don't know if I will, but definitely something to do in the future at least, because it seems like they're going full steam.
Yeah.
So
I know that was one thing I want to mention. You know, like the short amount of time that they had.
That was crazy to me too.
I thought he was gonna say like, oh yeah, we start in like August or something. You know what I mean? Or like right when the school year begins. No, they start like December, and then the holiday season is, I'm sure, kind of an obstacle. And kids, students go on vacation, and then they come back, and then all the snow we've gotten this winter, and they've had to postpone rehearsals. So I was impressed with that aspect too, just the short amount of time that they have to plan for this. It's literally 2 months.
And you think about it too, that's going to be such a good professional experience for them too, because it's like he had mentioned, like they're basically learning everything in 5 days.
Yeah.
And then they're rehearsing with their different groups beyond that. But like, I don't know, that's such I feel like that's such a good experience for a young musician or whoever is participating in this. Like, that's just, I don't know.
Yeah, 100%.
Those are the kind of real world experiences you really want to get in college. So
yeah, definitely.
All right, I think we'll let the listeners go.
Yeah.
So with that, that wraps another episode of So That Reminds Me. Thanks for listening as always, and we'll be back with another episode in a couple weeks. This episode of So That Reminds Me is sponsored by the Big Broadcast 1940s radio show, Saturday, March 7th, with performances at 2 p.m. and 7:30 p.m. in Chapin Auditorium at Mount Holyoke College. Tickets are available at the Odyssey Bookshop in South Hadley and online at mhc.ludus.com and at the door.
Thanks for listening to So That Reminds Me, produced by Western Massachusetts news source Reminder Publishing. Don't forget to subscribe to the podcast, find the latest news at thereminder.com, and follow Reminder Publishing on Instagram at Reminder Publishing, on X at The Reminder MA, and on Facebook. Reminder Publishing, we are hometown news.